Hi there, thanks so much for joining me. We are looking today at section 2.6, Order of Operations, part 1. So to start, we're going to look at exponents. So I'm going to go back and forth between a couple colors just to try to illustrate the point here. In this very first one, we have -3 squared. So do you see that -3 is in parentheses? That means that entire -3 we're going to write 2 times, okay? Because that's what the squared means, is the exponents are repeated multiplication, okay? So -3 squared really means -3 times -3. And a negative times a negative is a positive. Now this one here, do you see that that -3 now is not in parentheses? That means that this little exponent, he only applies to what he's attached to. So in the last one, he was attached to everything in parentheses. This one, he's only attached to that 3. So it's just a 3 times 3 for that part. And then out front, this is where I'm going to try to go back and forth with the colors here. Do you see this negative sign? He just hangs out front. Okay, so -3 squared is the -3 times 3. Okay, do you see that? So the squared only applies to the 3, so there's our 3 times 3, but that negative is still out there, so it's officially a -3 times 3, which would give us a -9. Okay, go ahead and hit pause on this screen. Let me write in the answers first. So I want you to put in the work for that 3 through 6. Try to do the work. The final answer should end up being -64 here, -64 here, -4, and -4. And also, if you happen to use your calculator to check your work, you do have to put in your parentheses, okay? Because the calculator is programmed with the order of operations, so it's super strict on that. So if you wanted to check problem number 1, you would have to put the parentheses, -3, parentheses, squared. And then for number 2, it would really just be a -3 squared. Okay, so hit pause on this screen so that you can see the answers. Go ahead and try to write out the work for 3 through 6, and then come back when you're ready for the explanation. Okay, so number 3 is a lot like number 2, right? And the exponent only applies to that 4. So that would be 3 times, but we still have a negative hanging out front. So we do need to still have that negative in there. And that -4 times 4 times another 4 would give us -64. And the next one, the exponent 3, applies to everything in the parentheses. So that would be a -4 times -4 times -4, which would also give us -64. And this next one, we have this squared applies to what's in the parentheses, which is this -2. So we have a -2 times -2, okay? But we also have that negative out front. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap this in parentheses and write that negative out front. So in order of operations, we would do what's in the parentheses first. So what you would get is you would do, let me draw an arrow here, this -2 times -2 first to get the +4, and then apply this negative at the end to get a -4. And to finish these guys off, we have little 2 only applies to this 2, so we have 2 times 2, but we do still have that negative out front, so -2 times 2, we get -4. All right, very good. So let's go ahead and look at these next ones here. Let's see. There's so many different ways we could talk about the order of operations. I think the most common way that students like to talk about it is PEMDAS. Have you heard of PEMDAS? Let me write it out. So PEMDAS means So each letter stands for something different. Okay, so I'll go left to right. It's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. What I don't personally like about PEMDAS is that sometimes students think, like, no matter what, multiplication will always come before division, or no matter what, addition will always come before subtraction. That's not actually the case. You have these 6 of them listed out. They're in pairs. Okay, so parentheses and exponents, they're at the same level of kind of like importance, right, of what you would do first. Multiplication, division are at the same level. Addition and subtraction are at the same level. So what we would do is we would go through, find all the parentheses and exponents and take care of them if we can, and then move on to multiplication and division left to right. Okay, so if there was division before multiplication, we would do that first because they're at the same level of importance. Okay, and same with addition and subtraction. Like you'll see in this first one that subtraction comes first. That's fine. You want to do it that way. Okay, you don't want to do just the addition first just because it's in the order of PEMDAS. Okay. Another way people remember PEMDAS is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Another way people like to draw it out, I'll just try to see if I can draw it out kind of on the fly here real quick, is they draw like a little building. Let me see if I can do this here. Okay, so it's like a little building, right? And say if we're up here on the top, okay, having a little party here, and we're trying to leave the building, we're going down the building, the same level of importance would be parentheses and exponents. And then same level would be multiplication, division. So once you got down to that floor, as you're trying to exit the building, those are the same level of importance, or addition, subtraction. Okay, so there's a few different ways. Take whichever one you like the most and practice it that way. Okay, so now as we're working, I'm going to try to put things I'm leaving the same in the blue ink, and I'm going to try my best to switch over to red whenever we make a change so that you can hopefully follow along with what's happening, okay? So these parentheses here in this number 7, those aren't like representing big parentheses. Those are like, if you look at number 8, that's what the parentheses would be in order of operations, okay? These parentheses in number 7 are just representing multiplication. Okay, so in number 7, we don't have any parentheses or exponents. We do have multiplication, we don't have division. So order of importance, we would hit that multiplication first. So let's take care of that first. So I would have a 5. Now that -2 times 3, do you see that? -2 times 3. Think of that as a -2 times 3 is a -6. Now we're just going left to right here. So plus 4 plus 4. And then we have more multiplication here. Think of that as -6 times -1, which would end up being a +6. Okay, now do you see on this one how subtraction comes before addition? So that's totally fine. Remember, they're at the same level of importance. So now we just work left to right. Okay, so we have equals 5 minus 6 is a -1. And we'll bring down the rest. Equals a -1 plus 4. That will give us 3. Oops. Three plus 6, we get 9. Okay, now in number 8, we have both parentheses and exponents going on. So if we were to try to do the parentheses first, since there's exponents within them, we wouldn't be able to take care of that right now, right? So let's just go through and let's just deal with our exponents first. So 2 cubed is 8. And then we have minus that parenthesis. Let's take care of 5 squared since we're doing all the exponents. That would be 25 plus 20. And we'll write out the rest. Divided by a 5 times 2. Okay, so we have our exponents. Now, what should we do next? The parentheses, right? So we have an 8 and then minus. What do we have there in parentheses? 25 plus 20 would be a 45. So we brought down that minus. So now 25 and 20 is 45. And then just copy down the rest. Now here, a lot of people start doing 8 minus 45. That's not correct, right? Because what comes before subtraction? Both that multiplication and division that we have left have to be done first, okay? So, and this is also where a lot of people, they want to do that multiplication first because the M comes before D in PEMDAS. But remember, multiplication and division are at the same level of importance, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to do this negative 45 divided by 5. And a lot of times people ask me, how do I know to count that negative with the 45? Just always bring the sign with it, okay? The sign goes out front, just always bring that sign with it. So now I have an 8, and then a negative 45 divided by 5, I get negative 9. And then I'm just going to bring down the rest, which is that times 2. Okay, so I know right now it's really tempting to do the 8 minus 9 first, but don't, right? Because order of operations says that we're going to do that multiplication first. Okay, so we're going to worry about this multiplication. So I'm going to drop down the 8. Negative 9 times 2 is a negative 18. And then finally, 8 minus 18 is a negative 10. All right. Now they're going to get a little bit more complicated, okay? These guys here, it looks like the top kind of got cut off. These are called brackets. Those big guys, they're just kind of like super parentheses because sometimes it gets a little hard on the eyes to keep seeing multiple sets of parentheses. If you don't mind the multiple sets, you can go ahead and stick with it, okay? It doesn't matter. You can do whatever works for you. So with this one, go ahead and give this one a try. And then I will work through it as well. Okay, so the final answer to this one should be 15. So where are you going to start? You're going to start with that 1 squared. And then you're going to do that inner set of parentheses. See what you can do with that. And then you're going to work on the brackets. And then finally multiply your answer by 5 to get the 15. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause. Give this one a try. Come back when you're ready for the explanation. Okay, so far, that very first line, I just did the 1 squared. 1 times 1 is 1. And then I just did what was here in parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and underline it. This 6 minus 4 gave me 2 plus 1. I got 3. So I just did that all in one line. So I changed the 3. That was the only thing I did there. Now, within these brackets, I'm going to go ahead and do the multiplication of the negative 2 times 3. So I have a 3. And negative 2 times 3, I get negative 6. And then plus that 6 and in that bracket. Now I'm going to go ahead and do what is in the bracket. If you're okay with doing that all in one step, go ahead. I'm just worried that I'm going to lose somebody, so I'm going to do the extra work, okay? Just so I hopefully don't lose anybody. So the addition, subtraction, same level. So I'm going to do that 3 minus 6 to get a negative 3. Bring down the plus 6. And what's remaining in the bracket, we have a negative 3 plus 6. That would give me a 3. Lost my pen there for a minute. Oops, let's erase that so it's in a different color for you. is now a positive 3, and 5 times 3 is finally that 15. All right, let's try to get one more in here for today. Okay, so give this one a try. First, you're going to want to take care of that negative 2. It's squared, but that negative is not included in the squared, right? So take care of that. Try to see what you can deal with up top for the multiplication, up and then on the bottom for the multiplication, and then finally do your any addition and subtraction that you might have. And you might have to finally reduce it at the end. We'll find out. Okay, so your final answer for this one should be 7. So give it a few minutes, see if you can get to 7. All right, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, so first I did the 2 squared, so I have the 3 minus that 2 squared is 4. That was the only thing I did. And then I went through and I looked at my multiplication. There were 3 different spots where I had to multiply. A negative 2 times a negative 4 up top for a positive 8. On the bottom, a negative 5 times negative 1 is a positive 5. And a negative 5 times a positive 2 is a negative 10. Now I'm going to add across the top. I'm going to do this all in one thing, right? Because addition and subtraction are all at the same level. So hopefully it's not too bad for you. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 minus 4. I'm just going to keep track of it in my head as a negative 1 plus that 8. So negative 1 plus 8, I would be at 7. Over 6 plus 5 would be 11. And 11 minus 10 would be 1. And remember, anything over 1 is really just itself, right? So our final answer is just 7. All right, let's go ahead and call it a day. We will finish up order of operations tomorrow. I hope you have a fantastic day.